everyone. Today I'm going to show you my seed starting schedule, which is on a spreadsheet because I love using spreadsheets to plan basically everything in my life, but also I have a free template that you can use as well. So it's the exact same version I'm going to show you of my own seed starting schedule, but it's a blank one so that it's not filled with my information. You can fill it with your own information. So first what I'm going to do, I will show you my spreadsheet. It's almost done. I have a few more seeds that I want to add, so I'll do that with you and I'll screen share so you can see the process of how I use the spreadsheet. And then I'll show you the template, tell you about how you can get access to it. It's very easy, but you have to make your own copy. And then you'll get a look at what I'm growing and my upcoming schedule for the season. We are still a few months away, well, really just a couple months away from me starting my seeds, but this is always a good thing to do in the winter to get an idea of your complete seed catalog. If there's anything missing that you definitely want to grow, maybe you realize you have way too many plants, but you're going to have to give some away, so that's fine. And then just start preparing for your seed starting a little bit ahead of time. Make sure you have the lights, all of your growing medium, everything like that. So this is just getting organized for the upcoming seed starting, which I'm so excited for. So this right here is my 2025 seed starting schedule, and it's very exciting to see all of the seeds I have here listed out. So far, I've only put in my flowers. I do still need to add my vegetables. I'm probably gonna do a second tab for that, but let me walk you through what's included in this spreadsheet, and feel free when I show you the template to add or remove anything that you want. Some of these columns I do find that I use like one time, maybe. I could probably stand to remove them, and then there's other columns that I use all the time for planning purposes. But the first thing that you'll want to adjust is the last frost date. Now, to be safe, I am using May 15th. We can't always guarantee that we will be past our last frost, even in early May, which is a bit sad, but I still love living in Chicago. I tell myself that every winter. But this will update formulas that will then help you with your planning. So if I adjust this date, it will adjust other dates in here, like your seed starting date and your harvest date. So just keep that in mind, and you can change this as often as you want. But for me, using May 15th is my safest last frost date. So I'll walk you through the columns that are in here now. I think some of these I've added over time, so they might not be in the template, but we'll look at Gomphrena Audrey Purple Red, the first one here on my list. So I have the name, because that is helpful. And then I have the type flower. This column was more helpful when I was including both flowers and vegetables on the same tab. Now I have a separate tab I'm going to create for that, but I still have it included in here. Genus, this is mostly for sorting purposes. I like to be able to see all of my Gomphrena together, all of my asters together, just to help keep me organized. And typically, if I'm starting one Gomphrena, I'm starting all of my Gomphrena. Then it says season. I think all of my flowers that I have listed here are warm season. I tend to do more planning with warm season, whereas cool season, I just throw things out whenever I feel like it in the spring. Number of seeds, I do put what's here on the packet, but then I don't ever count the following years, so I'm not really sure how helpful this column is for me right now. The recommended method, this one I do use, transplant for most of these. I do have some that are direct, and I do have some other notations in here if it's something a little bit different. Then here is where we start with the numbers that are going to play into the formulas. So this is something I enter in, number of weeks. I'm going to start these seeds inside before last frost. I mentioned I did Gomphrena 10 weeks early last year. That seemed a little bit too long of a time to try keeping them happy inside, so I'm going to try 9. I might try 8. We'll kind of see how I feel. But this I enter in myself. And then the formula will automatically calculate the days before last frost, just times 7. And then the seed start date, which is from the last frost date that you put in there. So right now it says March 13th. Let's say I want to change my last frost date to May 1st. Now that is changed to February 27th. February 27th is way too soon for me to be starting those, so I'm going to go back to the 15th, but you can see how that will adjust. So make sure in the template, if you are going to use it, that you don't want to change that formula. But again, it's a simple formula, so you can always readjust it if necessary. Outside spacing, helpful for me to reference and then ignore most of the time. Days to maturity, and then from that, there's another formula for the harvest date. So this just gives me, again, an idea with my flowers of when I can expect to start seeing blooms. This does say June for these, but typically with my Gomphrena, I don't really see it until July. So I think this is a little bit of an overestimation of when I'm going to see the first flowers on here. Then I have location, again, kind of a rough reference. They don't always end up where I say they're going to end up. If I have a container in mind, I will add it into this column N. This is something that I adjust frequently as we get closer and closer. I see how many actually germinated of each, where I'm going to put them, any new containers I might happen to add. Then we have color. This I'm using to help me decide where I'm going to place the plants. And then color type, I just added in for myself, either bright or pastel. And then I have some in here that say medium. So what I'm going to try to do with the design of my 2 rooftop deck gardens. Now, I don't tend to focus too much on design. Usually it's just making sure I get the flowers somewhere on one of my 2 decks up here. But I really want to have the majority of the bright colors on the west-facing front deck, and then the majority of the pastel colors on the east-facing back deck. I sort of did that in 2024, but I did have more bright flowers on the back than I think I wanted. And again, just personal preference. Sometimes it did seem kind of jarring to see something really bright in the middle of a bunch of pastel plants. So I'm going to try to go even more towards the direction of pastels back there and have a larger difference between the front and the back deck. But again, we'll see how it goes. But I'm using this column just to help myself plan it. Then I have height, and this is also something I use during planning to make sure that I have the taller plants in back, the shorter plants in front, and then any additional notes. So pre-soaking seeds, pinching required, pinching not required, all of that information. So that is my seed starting schedule. So now let's go ahead. I'm going to add 3 zinnias that I don't have in here yet. And these are all going to be zinnias that are new to me in my garden this year. So first off, I have Zinnia Aurora, which somebody recommended, and then I Googled it and I fell in love. So I am going to grow these this year. And then I have the 2 Zahara zinnias. So double Zahara cherry and double Zahara salmon. So let's go ahead and we will add in the Aurora first. So here's what I do. Anytime I'm going to add in a new flower, I'll add an empty row. So I'm going to have 3 rows here. So we'll just insert 1 row above. We will add in the Aurora zinnia. It is a flower. It is also a zinnia. It's also warm. Number of seeds here, also 50. A lot of this I can probably just copy and paste, but just to show you how it works. Transplant. Weeks before last frost, I'm going to do these with the majority of my other zinnias. So we'll say I'm going to do 4 weeks before last frost. So we'll go ahead and drag these formulas down to all the empty rows. So you can see here, this is 0 right now, an empty row, which would be direct sowing, which means I would actually sow the seeds on the last frost date. So 28 days spacing, I'm going to assume. This is also 9 to 12 inches, yes. Days to maturity, it says 75 to 85. Now for the formulas to work, you just want to use one date. So I'm going to use the 75, the first number in the date range. And then same thing with harvest date. This is a formula, so we will drag down. I think these are probably going to go on the front deck, just again because they are a little bit brighter. I don't know where yet, but I'm just going to say bright. Well, actually, this one I think is a mix. And then I will say bright. And then let's look at the height here, 30 to 40 inches. Ooh, maybe I will put these in the center raised bed. That could be pretty. Anything else that is worth noting? I don't think so. I'm used to growing zinnias, so I think we're good here. Now let's add in the double Zahara cherry and salmon. And I will do these both at the same time. So we'll do double Zahara cherry and double Zahara, spell that correctly, Zahara salmon. Now these are all flowers, zinnias, 50, transplant. So all of this information here, well, those are formulas. All of this I'm just going to drag so it's easy to update there. I'm going to assume, well, actually theirs are smaller, so let's see what spacing. Nope, also still 9 to 12 inches apart. Days to maturity, 75. I don't know exactly where these are gonna go yet, so I'll leave the location empty. These are bright pink, and then also salmon. And I would classify the cherry ones as bright. I don't think I'll add them to the back. The salmon potentially could be front or back, so I'm gonna put medium, and then let's get their heights. Both of them are 12 to 20 inches, 12 to 20 inches. So there we go. I have now added in, I think, all of the flower seeds that I have so far. Still need to do vegetables, and then any additional seeds that I will probably get for seed starting, I'll add here as well. So looking at my seed starting schedule, right now it is sorted by weeks before last frost. So I'll start the first ones again mid-March, around March 13th. I'm not hard set on this. If it's March 15th or 16th or a little bit earlier, that's still fine. And then we have the next one the week after, March 20th, then April 3rd, April 17th, and then basically after the 4 weeks before, everything else is going to be direct sow. For me, it doesn't really make sense to spend the time starting something like 2 weeks before last frost. Might as well just directly sow it outside. I don't think there really are any seeds that say sow indoors 2 weeks before last frost anyway. But that's a look at all of my seeds. I just added some colors in here to differentiate the different types of flowers. But that's it. And I love this. I love getting myself organized, and this really does help with planning. Just for fun, let me show you my 2022 seed starting schedule. Look how few plants I had. I think I was just gardening on the front deck at this point in time, but it's just so funny looking back at previous years and how I somehow grow more and more and find somewhere to fit it. There's also some stuff I've stopped growing too, so that's interesting to look back and see what did I try and maybe didn't necessarily love or it didn't do very well, so I don't grow it anymore. And now, let me open the template. So this is what I will provide a link to down in the description. The link will take you to this exact document that I'm showing you, but this is view only. Because if I made this editable, able to be edited, then everyone would try to be working in here and we'd all be adding and deleting each other's information. So when you get here, you're going to have to make a copy or download it. So you'll go to File, make a copy. That's going to keep it as a Google spreadsheet, but that will also allow it to be edited by you. So you'll make a copy. If you want an Excel file, you'll do download and then Excel. That will also make it a copy that you can edit. So make sure you do one of those two things, because if you try to edit in here, it's not going to let you. You want to update your last frost date for your location. And then I did leave one flower in here just as an example, but this is ready and available online. Again, feel free to remove columns, add columns, anything that you want to do to customize this and make it your own. And what's great is once you fill it out, so let me pull up mine again. I actually did not add most of these by hand because I will just duplicate last year. So I will duplicate, well, that's what I did. I duplicated the 2024 seed starting schedule. A lot of what I grew last year, I'm growing again this year. So I just leave those in there, and then I will add in anything new and I will delete anything that I'm not growing. But that's how I keep myself organized. I'm hoping that this was helpful. Let me know if you do end up using this or if you have any questions on it, or also let me know how you organize your seed starting. Again, I am a spreadsheet lover, mostly for all the filtering and sorting options. But for me, this is what is easiest for my brain to make sense of when I'm going to start seeds. Sometimes I will also add in like a calendar reminder if I need to for my seed starting dates. But once mid-March hits, I know it's time to start my seeds. So yeah, that's going to be everything for today. I hope this spreadsheet is helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.